Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the latest episode of Lads Discuss Death Battle. I am Billy McCarthy, and here joined is Jaru J and Saber King. Introduce yourselves.
Yo, what's up, everybody? How you doing?
Such deep annotations. Ooh.
That's as deep as I can go.
Very nice. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. I glad to be back. How y'all doing?
I'm good.
I'm sorry I went silent there. My dog started barking. I think my little French bulldog wants to be in the podcast.
Oh dear. But yeah, I hope everyone here and at home is doing well during the pandemic, which shall not be named for fear of being demonetized.
I don't.
Yeah.
If I could monetize my videos, oh my goodness, I so would.
Oh yeah, I guess that's fair point.
But I don't think the 20 subscribers I got will allow YouTube to be like, you know what, this guy's probably worth a lot of money.
Yeah, we'll start paying them.
But do you know what is worth a lot of money to a certain company? Is Death Battle, and the latest episode is Danny Phantom versus Jake Long. I didn't butcher characters' names this time. Yes.
Wow, golf clap.
Imagine if I said Jackie Chan for Jake Long. So,
The American Dragon, Jackie Chan.
Oh man, that would be awesome.
Man, I would love a character from Jackie Chan Adventures to get on Death Battle. That'd be
yeah.
dope.
oh my god, I remember me and my sister used to love that show.
That show was my childhood.
Okay,
Oh, same.
it's pretty dated now, but my goodness, man, at the time
It was
it
great.
had
As a kid, I had a hardcore crush on Jade. Like,
Oh yeah, same here. Well,
Right.
no, it may be dated, but it's not as dated as season 1 of American Dragon. Plug.
oh god.
so.
It's also infinitely more creative. So
Oh,
I tell you what, we'll probably talk about Jackie Chan's cartoon another time. Maybe if they ever do that as a death battle, please, Ben and Chad.
Oh,
So, Danny Phantom versus Jake Long, a death battle which, for once, is with 2 new franchises in this whole season.
yeah, amazing.
yes.
I guess
yes.
a Kame Kill counts as one, but she went up against like a character who's already. The franchise has already been in a death battle, so it's nice to have a whole new series finally get the chance to jump in. It's also a new company as well. Nicktoons has finally joined in death battle.
I was so
Yeah.
confused for a second when he said a comic got killed. I was like, who? When?
Yeah, Esdev versus Grey. Grey Fox,
Yeah.
you know. You're only mate. Go away. I'm recording a podcast.
But yeah, no, that was the death battle that I did not watch, so I was confused.
Funny enough that this episode was animated exactly like how that one was, so.
So what do we want to talk about first? The analysis, the animation, or the outcome?
I'm going to be brief on this because, given the fact you two probably know more about these two than I do, really. Well, I know a lot about Danny Phantom at least.
Okay.
So,
So analysis then.
the analysis I actually thought was quite entertaining. I really enjoyed a lot of the Wiz and Boomstick humour bits. You know what? I love the fact Wiz was just getting so confused over the fact that Danny and Jake can shoot lasers out there. Well, Jake fired fire out of his arse. I'm thinking, what was these writers thinking?
A lot.
They were thinking they were airing to their show to 12-year-olds.
Exactly.
Oh my goodness! I was just
Which
looking
they
at.
were, you know.
I don't even remember that time Danny fired a laser out of his arse.
I don't either.
Me neither.
And I had to admit though, there was something I was a bit, well, not really gutted by. It didn't feel like they covered a lot of things for Danny or Jake. I guess where a lot of people consider Danny stomps, they tried to make it seem like those two were really even. But I was just really thinking to myself, after Danny's analysis, I was like, what, that's it? No, like, oh, he's fired I don't know, some sort of energy beam. They don't even calculate how fast he would have had to react to all the lasers he's dodged. It's kind of weird to me. I just find that a bit odd. Because in fact, even though they've calculated many different light feats before, not one for Danny Phantom or Jake Long. I don't quite get that. Not even at the end of the analysis.
Yeah.
that was a bit weird to me, but I guess... I mean, I don't know that much about Jake Long, really, aside from the death battle, so maybe Danny stomped so hard, the writers were like, oh, if we cover everything about Jake, it's not going to be enough for Danny.
Gotcha.
But as for the fight itself, I was pretty amazed at how much they captured Danny's fighting style and his personality. It was a lot of fun seeing like him use all his ghostly powers, not leaving out one, which sometimes they might leave out something for a character that they cover because it might not make a difference. Jake Long, I have to admit, from just the death battle, he seems like a pretty funny character. I liked his whole little rhyming and slang. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm not saying it was brilliant, but it was kind of funny in a cheesy way, sort of similar to like Resident Evil's cheesy writing. It's kind of likable in a way.
Not when you have to listen to it for 21 straight episodes.
Yeah. As someone who beat Resident Evil 4 recently.
No spoilers. I'm going to be playing that at some point.
No worries, but like the humor in that, the cheese in that, is infinitely more bearable than the cheese in Jake Long.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
I tell you, there is one line I do know from Resident Evil 4 that is a bit cheesy and really dumb, which is Leon says like, or he's being threatened by some weird pirate zombie. He's like, I've set my right hand to come after you. And Leon's like, your right hand comes off, and I was like, really?
In the context, it's actually a very appropriate question. Like, it's not.
Yeah.
That's not even like he's a smartass the whole game, but that one line, it was almost like that's like a genuine question. Like, that's one of your weird, gross powers. Weird.
Yeah.
Anyway, so back to Jake Long though. Before we talk about Leon, Jake Long's powers were pretty cool in the animation, I have to admit. I also like the fact they both have the ability to like make clones, and they just decided, you know what, let's have a clone off 4v4. that was pretty clever. Also, the red versus blue teaser for the next season, that was a bit of fan service. I have to give it an A+ for that. Red versus blue fan, right? Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's cool.
And caboose in death battle when. As for the analysis on why when Danny won, spoilers, Danny Phantom won. That might be a shock to no one watching this.
Nope.
I have to admit, they tried to make it seem like Danny and Jake were very even in a lot of places. But my goodness, when they did cover like how powerful Jake's fire breath is compared to another dragon Danny fought, yeah, the firepower Jake disposed was pretty pathetic compared to the ones that Danny can survive or even like replicate, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So maybe this matchup is a storm. I also kind of like the fact they did kind of cover more about, oh, Jake did fight Ghost, but I'm also thinking, okay, but are they comparable to the ones Danny's for? We're talking about ones that, if wanted, could destroy reality at fully powered.
And the answer is no.
And no, they're just basically normal people just resurrected. It's like, so no, he could probably punch Danny, but that doesn't really matter because the ghosts that he fought are kind of pathetic compared to Danny.
Pretty much.
The analysis, okay, I can understand just from knowing Jake from the death battle analysis. Yeah, it makes sense why Danny won. And how Danny killed Jake. At first I was thinking, that's it, instant disintegration. But no, they show him as a ghost, getting vacuumed up. I was like, okay, do you know what? You got an A+ for creativity there. If they literally just ended it on just Jake being incinerated, that probably would have made the end of the fight really underwhelming.
Yeah.
So that's my official thoughts. Not a whole lot to say about this episode. I'm not too attached to them. So let's hear Richard's. Or do you want to go first, Jaru?
I have no preference.
Okay, well, I'm just thinking.
Sounds like he put a lot more effort into researching this match than I did.
So should we probably let him go? Should we let him go last, then, and you give your full?
Whatever he prefers.
It's between you two. I'll just sit here and drink Dr. Pepper.
It doesn't matter. I'll go. Yeah, no. I've been invested in this matchup since I was a kid. It was one of those playground debates that you often had back in the days when life was simple.
Unless you lived in the UK and Danny Phantom didn't exist to the UK.
Okay, well that makes sense. I knew
Back
this.
when
I
life
knew this.
sucked. If you lived in
Yeah,
the UK.
yeah, pretty much. I knew this death battle was popular. I knew it was heavily requested since season 1. It was only a matter of time till it finally got around to happening, and it finally did happen. And now that it's out, I think those of us who were invested in both shows probably love this more than people who weren't.
That's safe to say.
Yeah, exactly. Because, like compared to the last one, Obi-Wan Kenobi versus Kakashi, like, yeah, that was a great fight. Everything about it was god tier, but the level of investment wasn't as high as this one. That's just me speaking on everyone's behalf, and I won't lie. I've said it in my own review. This episode was pretty damn good. The analysis was meh. I do agree with Billy. I think they started out trying to make these two sound even, but as somebody who did research them, as somebody who watched the shows, yeah, they were not even in the slightest.
Wow, really?
Yeah, no. They were very much trying to hide the fact that, yeah, no, this is kind of a stomp. I mean, it's not a stomp that would end in like a minute. But
That to me is what a stomp is. If you can't even fight against the other opponent, then it's a stomp.
Yeah, no. But the analysis was meh. I didn't care for it very much. The actual animation, the voice acting, the track, all of that was very, very well executed. Having these sprites almost look hand-drawn, making this kind of feel like a lost episode or a lost crossover, I should say, that maybe was made in the 2000s, but we never got to see until now. So I think that definitely made it feel more special.
I think as well it's because of the fact that these two sprites you can't find online. These were handmade by Jets, and Zach, I believe, was also the one who created one of the. Well, there's a sprite for the puppet thing.
Yeah, exactly. And I love that. I love that these sprites were almost. They literally were on the verge of being hand drawn. That's how good they were. I love the choreography. I just loved everything, and I'm finally happy that Nick got a win.
Yeah.
Oh, what?
Finally.
What episode did he play?
A lot. He spit a lot of characters.
He was Kakashi in the previous fight.
Oh my god.
Oh no! I meant who did he play in like this fight? I know he played as Kakashi.
Okay. Oh, he was. Yeah, Danny.
Oh wow! So he did essentially 2 episodes in a row. Wow.
Yeah.
Rock on.
Yeah, exactly. I'm happy for him. He did pretty good as Danny. So much so that even the creator of Danny Phantom gave him his blessing. So that's very awesome. I loved
awesome.
Dan. Yeah, I loved Dam as Jake Long. I thought she did a fantastic job.
Did you say she?
Yeah, she.
Oh damn!
Yeah, I know. That was crazy. I knew that as soon as they announced it, so I was like, oh, okay, cool. They didn't actually get a guy to try. They got a female voice actor, and I was very interested, and she did absolutely fantastic. I think she came very close to emulating Dante Bosco, so that was good.
Yeah, and that's no small, feat.
No, it isn't.
He has a very distinct voice.
Yeah, he does. She did a great job on the raps, the slang, and all that.
Good in the sense that she captured the cringe, I'm guessing.
Well, I wouldn't say that. I mean, okay, Dante had to say some horrible, outdated shit.
Well, outdated now.
No, it was even outdated before.
To an extent.
Well, nobody talked like that back then.
Did you watch
Well,
it?
actually, do you know? Funny you say that, Richard. Nick did actually comment on the last podcast, and he said you're kind of making fun of me because that's how I used to talk back then. Your friend might be a bit triggered by that.
Well, no.
He doesn't.
No.
Don't take it personally, Nick. Rich doesn't know what he says.
No, I just don't like. I just don't like that 2000 slang.
No, I don't think. Yeah, no, I agree. It's terrible.
yeah. It makes us.
No offense, Nick.
Yeah, no offense, Nick.
Do you think he's going to dislike bomb our video?
Yep,
Probably
guaranteed.
not.
Since I'm not his friend, it won't affect you guys. It'll affect me.
Oh no. But yeah, I don't know what to say about this fight that I've already haven't covered in my own review. It was just fantastic. It was well done. I'm finally happy that it's now out, and it's bringing these two characters back into the spotlight, because Danny Phantom and Danny Phantom especially, I feel like he fell into obscurity after his series was done.
Yeah.
And Butch Hartman has done his best to keep the character very much alive in mainstream, but with Death Battle now putting Danny in, I feel like that is much more of a guarantee for Danny to finally make a reappearance and just pop in just mainstream media. Same thing with Jake Long. So I'm very happy with this episode. I loved it. I have no complaints, and I thought it's probably my favorite 2D fight of season 7 so far. So yeah,
Really?
yeah. So far. That's how much again, that may be nostalgia, bias, and even just the fact that Danny won.
That's exactly like Butch Hartman's reaction. He was like, if Danny did lose, I wouldn't be too butthurt. I'm like, I don't believe that.
Yeah, no, I don't believe that either.
Like, I'm going to be honest here. If one of my books got published and famous and they end up in a death battle, let me tell you, if my character lost in a death battle, I might end up being like, oh, I'm abandoning this show.
Yeah.
They didn't represent my character properly.
Yeah. So yeah.
You know that's gonna happen eventually. Eventually,
yeah.
we'll do a death battle, and the creator will comment and be like, "You've done fucked up." Like,
Exactly. Yeah. Well, that segues over into Jaru. What did you think?
okay.
Man?
I didn't do any research beforehand. I did not rewatch anything.
Oh, like Jaru ever does any research. He's just biased. He never does full-on research.
Never. I never ever read 60 years worth of Carol Danvers comics. I guarantee that didn't happen. If it did, I'd be insane. Definitely.
Yes.
What's your thoughts, Jared? Sorry, I choked a bit. I think Nick's choking me. He's force choking me.
Oh dear. Jedi are overpowered. What was I gonna say? Okay, so analysis didn't really much care. Like I said, I don't usually care about the analysis in terms of, versus debate. I don't really care that much. But the only thing I think I found interesting was their discussion of why they think it's legitimate to factor in Danny's ectoplasm beams as lasers.
I had some issues with that, but I got over it.
Yeah, I mean, I liked it. I thought it was interesting. I mean, it's just further showcasing of the influence that the versus community has in Death Battle these days. And, that's not always a bad thing. Having a kind of drawing a line and being like, just because it looks like a laser doesn't mean it's a laser. And, that's legit. Like, that's fair. I think it's taken me a few months. I'm starting to, gain a little bit more appreciation for the versus community lately.
Took a few years, but you got there in the end.
Yeah. I think I can only look at how much hard work they put in to especially people who do math or hard research. I can only look at that so much and not admire it a little, just because it's a kindred spirit. But no, I digress. I thought that was interesting. The singing from Boomstick. Fun fact: the video failed to get uploaded on YouTube initially because his singing was too close to the original.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
I am not joking. That's actually happened.
I didn't even know the video was blocked.
Oh,
yeah. They uploaded it. They had to put it on private, and then they took it down, and then they put it back up, and it was a whole thing.
I knew Viacom would try and take it down. Viacom are just evil assholes.
Do you think the people at Rooster Teeth are like, huh? So that's how our reactors feel. I'm not taking a shot at Rooster Teeth. This isn't fully their fault. I should say it is a YouTube bot that, for some reason, YouTube, despite Rooster Teeth constantly saying, "Can you please stop freaking blocking our reactors?" That we're perfectly fine with them watching it, but YouTube's bot's like, nah. So even that. So maybe after Rooster Teeth complained that, hey, listen, now that bot's coming after us, can you fucking fix this yet?
Yeah, it'll take a big influencer or company to really get them to get their shit together. But yeah, although that hasn't stopped a lot of reaction videos from getting blocked to the death battles. Red Runners. I don't know if Red Runner's video is unblocked yet. I hope it is.
Do you know, our first podcast was actually blocked because there was that 2 second of footage of Static being punched by Miles.
Wow.
And to the point now, basically Rooster Teeth make money off that video because I was thinking, why is there ads?
Making all $0.
Yeah.
Well, technically they'd be making 3 pence.
Oh wow!
Which would convert into
out there that converts to $0.
Exactly. If Rooster Teeth lived in the UK, they'll be earning mint. Literally, I don't even think that money would come. That money would come to 1 mint.
It's pretty funny. I digress though. The comedy, I don't know, a few too many fart jokes and a few too many singing karaoke things for my taste. But I wasn't like super, like I wasn't annoyed by it. I was just neutral to the comedy. That's about it in terms of the analysis. I didn't think much of it. It was pretty mediocre, I'd say.
Wow.
To clarify, the word mediocre just means average. So it was a very average analysis. It did its job. It told us who the characters are, did like some math. Did some jokes.
I think a lot of us are just saying that the analysis was okay at best, so no, there was nothing really major in it.
No, it was very... It happened. Period. Then there was the fight itself. I'm gonna be a bit of a wet blanket here and
kinky.
Say, I wasn't in love with the animation. There were moments that were nifty, but it felt a little slow. Like the fight kind of just kept going without a whole lot happening.
I think it was meant to capture, like, if you look at Danny Phantom's shows, they have some of those moments just like in this fight. It's not over-the-top anime Dragon Ball levels of moving really fast and punching, deflecting lasers. It's more or less they do an attack, the villain will either be hit by it or dodge it or do something epic and like take the attack like it was nothing. So I think they try to capture that with Danny. I'm not sure for Jake Long, maybe he's more the Dragon Ball like sort of character.
He kind of is.
Here's the thing. Kirby is not a Dragon Ball character, but they animated him like one, and that's why that fight is one of the coolest things in the history of the show. So, if they wanted to animate every death battle like it was a Dragon Ball fight, it would benefit. That would be for the better because it would be awesome. But no, the fight wasn't bad. It was fine as far as the animation goes. Like it did everything that you'd want it to for a fight. I'd say the coolest moment was all the dragon clones firing together to make the big blast. That was probably the niftiest part. The death was a little anticlimactic, like you said, with the incineration, but the ghost bit was neat. I'd say that was probably like a B tier death. Like, it was good enough. Like, there was enough creativity that I wouldn't call it C tier. Like, if it was just the incineration, that was it. It would be like C tier, maybe less.
I'd put it in F tier. The fact is, well, it was super quick. Imagine you just got incinerated. It's like, well, I guess I win, and then just cut away. It's like, that's it, just incineration.
Yeah, you're right. It would probably be lower. But
we've had like 30 characters on Death Battle die by that.
With the Ghost Thermos, I'd say it's like probably a C or B tier death. It's not bad. It's good, or at the very least, okay. The fight itself, though, it was just sort of, it was okay. Like, I wasn't in love with it. It felt, the whole episode, to be honest, felt a little bit formulaic. Like, it felt very much like, this is the part where we say the backstory. This is the part where we make a generic joke, like that we always do, and we make
Jaru roasting Ben.
Well, I'm not saying their humor isn't. Plenty of their jokes are funny or creative or unexpected. Like, I really enjoyed the humor in Obi-Wan versus Kakashi, but like this one, it just didn't really have the heart that I was hoping for. And the whole thing felt very formulaic, felt very like cookie cutter. I don't know. Maybe I'm, reading that wrong. It's probably not entirely fair, but I just wasn't super invested in it. And this is someone who's watched both shows growing up, so but even then, I was never that into this matchup. Like, I wasn't opposed to it. I wanted it to happen because it's a big matchup. It's a very popular one. It's arguably it's like a fairly highly requested matchup. I wanted it to happen more, but I wanted it to happen more so for the benefit of other people than for myself.
I actually, when I was getting into Death Battle, probably one of the dumbest matchups I came up with. Okay, keep in mind, this is when I was still in sixth form. I wasn't that smart with verse debating. I wanted Danny Phantom to fight a Boo from Mario. Not like King Boo or any unique Boo, no, just a Boo.
Seems legit.
And I guarantee if they did do that fight, all it would be is Danny charges at the Boo covers its eyes, and then it just gets captured. I guarantee that's how the fight would have gone.
Yeah, probably.
And still better than Deadpool versus The Mask.
God, what a weird episode. Anyway, stop distracting.
I just wanted to say this. I feel like that might be funny.
Yeah, it was a very strange episode. But no, yeah. So the fight was fine. I didn't love it. But it was good. Like, it wasn't bad. Like, by any extent. Like, there are mediocre animations. Like, let me pull up the episodes for this season real quick. Just it's a refresher. It's been a minute since I thought about what we've gotten this season. Like, I wouldn't say this is on the level of a lot of these.
Just with me and Richard just gone silent. You're just looking up something.
Yeah, no, I'm just looking at all these other 2D fights, and I kind of enjoy them.
We're very professional viewers.
This one, I don't know. This fight had the problem of being so highly requested that the expectations were high. I didn't have any expectations for Miles versus Static or Leonardo versus the Red Ranger.
Sorry.
Yeah, definitely had no expectations for Cable versus Booster Gold.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know who Booster God was, but after that episode, I love that character, and I am going to read every one of his comics because he is fucking lit.
Damn straight.
That's the best thing about Death Battle. When they make a character look awesome and you just fall in love, that's like my favorite thing about Death Battle.
You're an Obi-Wan fan now, aren't you? Because of
I'm an Obi-Wan fan. They're the ones that made me a Ganon fan. Like they've done a lot for me in terms of making me love characters.
I was one of those people who, if I didn't recognize the character before I started watching more regularly, if I didn't recognize the character, I'd never watch it. And I've probably missed so many characters because of that attitude I used to have.
Yeah. No, I get that. But yeah, so no, the fight was fine. Like this whole thing was like B tier. I don't know. The whole episode was B tier, which isn't to say that it's bad. And for the people who actually are really invested in this match, it might have been A tier or S tier. You know, like and that's great. But it was fine. It wasn't for me. The only complaint I have about the fight. Before I forget, the music. I didn't really pay attention to the music, and I never listened to it on its own, so I have nothing to say on that.
Yeah, same here.
But as far the only thing that could bother me was the random rhyming. Like that bothered me. Like, you know, it being in the analysis was like, okay, haha. But it being in the fight bothered me. It kind of took me out of it.
I mean, to be fair, Danny is one of those people that would make a cheesy rhyme or one-liner during a battle.
Yeah,
Sure.
but he never rapped.
Yeah, I will admit, the rap, when he actually, if he was just saying it normally, like talking, but the fact he started rapping midway, I feel like generally Death Battle really want to do a musical Death Battle. Like they've talked about doing like a Disney Princess Battle Royale, and they just want it to be a musical. I think deep down, Chad's like, can we please make a rap out of this? And they just let him have his moment.
But yeah.
I should have wrote the rap.
It annoyed me. Especially, I mean, it wouldn't bother me as much if it wasn't the finale of the fight. Like, if it wasn't the climax. Like, if it was just like, oh, you know, while they're a bit of silly rapping while they're exchanging blows, then okay, whatever. But it was like the final line, so that bothered me. I don't know. I didn't like that. But generally, it was fine. It was a fine episode. I didn't intend to be as much of a wet blanket as I ended up being. But
No, you were, for once, you were actually pretty civil, and you weren't taking the mick out of someone's childhood show, like the last episode, in which you made me cry myself to sleep last night.
last night, wow.
I know, yeah, that doesn't make any sense. I have
seriously traumatized.
Yeah, I'm just sitting there reading the book. I'm like, oh my god, Jaru was really mean. I run to my room.
But no, I think it was fine. I'm not I watched both shows, but this is far from a matchup that I was like super invested in. Like, this is a matchup I really wanted purely because it was creative, it was unique, and it was one a lot of other people really cared about. It wasn't one that I personally was dying to see.
No. If anything, I was dying to see Jake Long versus Juniper Lee. That would have been better.
You are too kind. But no. Anyway, fine fight. The outcome is pretty much what everyone expected. It's also what I wanted, so that works out. And yeah, it was cool. It was fine. B tier. It was fun. I don't have a lot to say about this. I have a lot to say about the next time.
Which is kind of funny about the next time, because
I have the power.
I'm pretty sure people who haven't seen the next time are probably thinking just from that, they're like, is it He-Man? Sorry to disappoint you people.
I wish.
If it was He-Man, I'm losing my shit.
Sorry people, but it is She-Ra from She-Ra versus Wonder Woman for another DC match.
Wonder Woman for the third time.
Third Wonder Woman fight.
Okay, to be clear, I kind of consider this a second Wonder Woman match because the first one they did with her was utterly trash. In fact, do you not know? We're gonna have this. I'm gonna spend 2 minutes ranting on this. Rogue versus Wonder Woman was the most disrespectful Wonder Woman death battle I've ever seen. It made me hate X-Men. It made me hate Rogue, and I kind of wish I was one of those people that made spy art of Wonder Woman killing that bitch.
I agree with the outcome of that. So,
Well, another rant. Jaru is the worst death battle fanatic in the history of death battle fanatics, and he's going to be fired once again after this podcast.
I mean,
dude, I've researched Wonder Woman.
Dude, at this point,
so I'm not impressed with Wonder Woman in the slightest.
I just want to quickly say this. At this point, I'm pretty much like that reporter Peter Parker works for, and I just keep firing you and just rehiring you.
yeah.
But I actually agree with that, man. I remember there was a point where, what's her name? Carol Danvers came back as binary, which was like a cosmic level form of her, and punched Rogue to the moon, like full Saitama style. And she just like shrugged it off.
I never heard that comic. I don't believe it happened. I think you're lying. Diana should have easily won that match. Rogue doesn't have any way of beating Wonder Woman. Just saying. Not by.
If she gets punched in the face, then she instantly gains a way of beating Wonder Woman. But I digress. But no, I don't care enough to debate this.
I tell you actually have a big rant to say about this. So do you want me and Richard to say our piece first? Because I'm kind of interested.
Sure.
I'm interested to have your rant at the end because I think it might be interesting.
Yeah.
So, Rich, you kind of know both these two a lot, don't you?
I do.
So you go first, and I will give my piece on this.
Okay. I'm very disappointed, but very excited to see Wonder Woman back. Again, this fight was originally supposed to happen. It was on that leaked list of.
Oh no, that wasn't true. That leak was faked.
Then why was it mostly accurate?
Because the matchups on there were highly requested matchups.
Okay, yeah, whatever. Well, originally they did this. Wonder Woman was supposed to fight She-Ra in season 4, but then they're like, "Oh wait, no, Thor Ragnarok's coming out." So it's like, "Oh yeah, that's actually a good point. So let's just have Thor fight Wonder Woman," and then we got the worst 3D animated fight of season 4.
I think it was only the worst because it were the amount of things Torian wanted to do for that fight, but they just did not have the computer power for it.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
not only did they have to cut out 50% of the fight, they had to downgrade a lot of the background and the effects just so it could run at a decent FPS.
Okay, I'm just gonna say this now. I rewatched RoboCop versus Terminator. That alone is better than Wonder Woman versus Thor.
Agreed.
Well, you gotta think though. Look how downgraded the background is and the character models are.
But the city would flicker. Like the animation is so dated in that fight, it flickers, but it's still entertaining to watch than Thor versus fucking Thor.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Thor versus Wonder Woman.
4 versus 4.
Yeah, no. So yeah.
Thor, coming this Christmas.
Oh, that'd be awesome. I was not a big fan of She-Ra. I am so sorry. I grew up with He-Man, and whenever I saw She-Ra, and it wasn't just because, oh, she's a girl, because I grew up watching the Powerpuff Girls, god dang it. No, I just hated She-Ra because she wasn't fucking He-Man. It's like, oh, here's a show with He-Man's sister. Why the hell would I want to watch a show with He-Man's sister? I came here for He-Man, damn it.
Richard confirmed sexist.
Shut up. Yeah, despite the fact that most of my friends are women. Yeah, I'm totally...
Yeah.
Name one.
Here's the thing. You know how so many things came out during the 80s and whatever, and people have nostalgia goggles? I have a huge love of you now. But I can tell you, that show was trash. Not a good show. But I love it anyway.
Wasn't. Yeah, no, but...
She-Ra made He-Man look good. That's how bad it is.
Well, yes, absolutely. So I didn't care for the character, and I understood why she went into obscurity, but then the reboot came out, and I was one of those people who was willing to give the reboot a chance, despite the fact that people were bitching and complaining, saying, oh, she doesn't look like a girl, she looks like a boy. It's like, do you not know women look different at that age? It's like, what in the hell is wrong with you? So,
isn't she meant to be like 14 in that?
No.
Oh, really?
16, I think. Yeah, no, I think.
Oh, okay. Okay, well, still.
Closer to an adult than she is to a
Okay, well, still pretty young.
Yeah, exactly. But
her bosoms wouldn't be bursting out at that age.
Regardless, the reboot did do a good job of bringing her back. It actually did a fantastic job of just removing her from He-Man as much as possible, and I'm so glad for that. I did watch.
Some people were not a fan of this.
Yeah,
but that's
no.
personal bias.
No. It took a while for me to get used to too. It does get better for people, who have only seen the first season and wrote it off. It does get better dramatically, and it just ended. So yes, I love both these characters. I love She-Ra, I love Wonder Woman, and I've been wanting She-Ra in Death Battle because of this reboot. However, I'm not a fan of them bringing back Wonder Woman again because it just feels like, okay, we could have had She-Ra fight Sailor Moon. We could have had her.
Oh, that would have been so good.
Yeah, would have made sense. Would have been better.
Sailor Moon's underrated, man. That, as girly as it is, man, it's so charming.
Yeah. So she could have fought Supergirl, like anybody.
Now you're making me hate this episode.
Well, that's not my. Yeah, exactly. So yeah. But I am looking forward to it because I do think this could be a great opportunity to finally, I don't know, maybe get some kind of something going for He-Man because He-Man's got a lot going for him right now. He's got like 2 different fucking shows coming out and a fucking movie. So I'm looking at this episode as less, it's just going to capitalize on She-Ra's reboot ending, and more, no, this is just going to be a great opportunity for something He-Man related to come back in Death Battle.
Which is always a good thing.
Exactly, yes.
Jaru's definitely not being sarcastic here.
Yeah, the debate...
I'm not being sarcastic. He-Man's the best thing ever.
He really is.
I really thought he was being sarcastic.
No, it's a fucking
He-Man
fact.
vs. Lion-O was my favorite match of all time for a long time.
Exactly.
I have not actually watched that episode yet.
Okay, the debate... Oh, goodness.
Disgusting.
I'll watch it at the end of this podcast, and I will review it next podcast.
Okay.
We're holding you to that. The debate aspect of this, everybody's pretty much said it mostly looks like Wonder Woman could win, but it's not going to be a stomp. So I don't know. The only reason I'm looking forward to this matchup as the mid-season finale is because the voice acting and the fact that word around the mill is that this could be a hand-drawn fight.
Ooh!
And if that's the case, if this is a hand-drawn fight, then I will fucking love this episode. Because, I mean, if it can be better than... Okay, realistically, if it can be better than Genos versus War Machine, it's already good in my opinion.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I completely forgotten that was an episode.
Good.
Yeah.
It deserves to be done.
Oh, wow. Someone's still bitter about... Wait, who won that episode again?
War Machine.
Right, okay.
Duh.
Yeah. What, you thought Genos would actually win a matchup? Are you high?
Well, there is actually death battles he would win. Like, his most requested... Raiden versus Genos? He would destroy Raiden.
Yeah. Why couldn't they have just given him a win? I'm a little biased. Anyway, sorry, Richard.
No, it's okay. So, yeah, moving on. No, it's okay. So, yeah, I'm half excited for this matchup, and I'm half a little not, because, I literally said this. If they would have had this be the penultimate mid-season episode, and they would have had Danny versus Jake be the mid-season finale, I would have been perfectly fine with that.
I think they didn't, because Wonder Woman and She-Ra are kind of more popular than those two.
Well, yeah, because Wonder Woman's movie was supposed to come out next month, but then it got delayed because the apocalypse happened, and She-Ra's season concluded this month, which, by the way, total coincidence that they decided to have this matchup at the end of the month, in the same month that the show ends. Just the coincidence to end all coincidences. So, yeah, those are my thoughts on it. I don't know. I don't know if I'm interested in the debate aspect of this. I mean, She-Ra's just as ridiculous as her brother, but it just makes me wish it was fucking He-Man in this. Like, if He-Man was fighting Wonder Woman, oh boy, that would be awesome.
Or Sailor Moon versus She-Ra, which now I really want.
Yeah,
anything other than Wonder Woman being here.
We'll let you rant in a bit, Jaru.
Yeah, so I'm done. I'm tagging in Billy.
Okay, so funny enough, before this episode was even requested last week, because Yang and Sames has been going, oh, you should watch this episode, Bill. You should watch this season, Bill. I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake, fine, I'll watch fucking She-Ra. And it wasn't even just her. Loads of my friends at work were going on about this Netflix She-Ra, and I'm just like, it just doesn't look like something I'd be into. It just looks like a discounted Sailor Moon. Which then people are like, oh my god, you like Sailor Moon? So I finally decided, okay, let me check out Netflix She-Ra. I've actually finished season 3. Great. Nice. I think it's actually a really good series. Season 1, just like Richard said. Jaru, we'll let you rant in a bit.
I'm saying, you got far in the show. So.
I actually think it's a really great show. The writing is not top tier. Like, I'm very judgmental on writing because I want to be a writer. So I was a bit more judgmental on the story. But the characters and the animation and the charm kind of made it forgivable. The main villain, I keep forgetting his name, but he is Hordak is a fucking G. Like, agreed. He imagine combining like Ganondorf with freaking Dark Samus. That's basically who we got. That's the ultimate villain.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
You don't have to hype him up that much.
He's really cool. He has a cool design. He has a really cool voice, and he has really cool powers.
And he just gets better in the last 2 seasons, as you'll find out.
Yeah, I'm gonna definitely finish this season 4 and 5 before this episode comes out. But now, judging She-Ra and Wonder Woman, before Richard came up with a much better idea, Sailor Moon versus She-Ra, I did kind of get excited for this because, if you've already heard my huge rant about Rogue versus Wonder Woman, that episode was complete rubbish. Like Wonder Woman.
Thor versus Wonder Woman was even worse.
Yep.
Nope, I actually think that was really good. If they were able to at least increase the animation quality, I would say it was a really good episode because the analysis was really great. They really showed that Thor is not as overpowered as many people who've only seen the MCU films hype him up to be. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's strong.
Oh yeah, no. A god who walks on the fucking sun and isn't burned to cinders. Yeah, that's not overpowered.
Wonder Woman literally pulled someone from a black hole and then flew away like it was nothing, and she has survived. She could dodge like multiple light speed attacks just to deflect them off one guy. That is fucking overpowered, and shit's all over Thor.
Meh, not impressed.
Well, fuck you and your Thor. 4 versus 4 is shit.
Everything is... The whole universe is shit on Thor. And it makes me mad.
But,
right?
we're not talking about Thor! We're talking about Wonder Woman!
I wish we were talking about Thor.
Well, we'll talk about him next episode. if he's in a death battle.
Hashtag Thor versus Vegeta. Make it happen.
Oh, that would be...
So Wonder Woman is a really cool character, and I do think Thor versus Wonder Woman was an upgrade over Rogue versus Wonder Woman, but the shut up! The animation quality did not do her justice. Okay then, but now that she's coming back again, for what I consider a second time, because I don't count the first time,
Boo.
because she's coming back... I feel like now with their increased in budget and they're much better animators now, I think they could do Wonder Woman justice. and even though I'm going into this not knowing too much about it, and I did hear they're going to kind of use a mixture of the Netflix feats as well as the original, which is kind of fair because they do kind of combine Wonder Woman quite a bit in all her episodes she's appeared in. Well, in that one episode she appeared in, the other one was non-canon.
Well, they're actually mostly going to be using 80 She-Ra.
That makes sense because from what I've heard, she has more feats. I'm not going to watch the original though because
no, please.
I've heard it's bad.
It's bad.
Not even cheesy bad.
It's Voltron levels of bad.
I've never watched Voltron, and I haven't even seen the Megazord versus Voltron episode.
Voltron sucks, but it's better than She-Ra.
Man, there's a lot of old death battles I might need to watch.
Yeah.
But who am I rooting for in this episode? I'm kind of more leaning towards Wonder Woman. I do like She-Ra. Like I said, she's a really likable character, and I love, in the Netflix series, her relationship with Catra, not gonna lie, nearly had me in tears. In fact, in season 1, when she was gonna let herself fall to her death, because Catra fully rejected her, I was like, oh wow, that's... I went into this thinking it was just another kid's show. No, that's fucking deep.
Hashtag feels bad, man.
Hashtag feels bad for She-Ra.
Hashtag Cat Dora is better than Bumblebee.
Oh, I mean, to be fair, anything's better than Bumblebee.
Hey-o!
Me and
Big yikes.
Billy shipping with a Darth Vader mannequin is a better ship than Bumblebee. In fact, I'll send a picture to Sean to post in this part, but I actually do have like a sort of life-size Darth Vader toy.
Oh my god.
Well, more like a midget version. I have a little.
Oh, great!
Topic.
I know.
And I'm just saying, like that's a better ship.
You can't also hate on it. Like, come on. Then I have to defend it. What are you doing to me?
You're kind of like me whenever people are saying this character stomps, and I'm trying to root for the other guy.
Anyway, continue your tale.
My great tale! I do like She-Ra. She's a really likable character in the Netflix series until season 4 or 5 comes around. After I finish that, I might just be like, nah, Wonder Woman, tear this bitch apart. But I'm going into this thinking, what I will hope to see is that She-Ra's more powerful than what people say. Because even the Netflix series, she's not on like a god tier of power levels, but she's definitely proved she is really capable of her powers.
Fun fact, I went to the Versus Battle Wiki, there wasn't even an entry for She-Ra.
That doesn't make any... That's really weird. That again, the verse battle wiki can go suck on my ass.
Yeah.
They say a Goomba is more powerful than Nemesis.
Oh my god.
Well, if you want to be fair, I mean, if you push the scaling to the logical extremes, Goombas survive hits from Mario, who can blow up stadiums with a punch. So I'm just saying.
Actually, do you want that? I'm not even angry about that. That's actually a very fair point.
I was just gonna say, if you want God tier She-Ra, then that's where 80 She-Ra comes in, because she almost is God tier level.
Which
almost.
Which makes sense.
About that in a second.
Okay, to give my final thoughts, I'm going into this rooting for a bit of Wonder Woman, but I'm hoping at the end of the Netflix She-Ra, I'm more of a She-Ra stan. And Kadora's better than Bumblebee. Jaru, pitch in!
Let's see. Alright, where to begin?
Oh god, this is why I saved him for last.
Man. One moment.
The build up.
I'm just collecting all the things I need.
Sean, drum roll please.
Alright, so let's start with the horse in the room. The horse in the room?
What? The horse in the room?
Clearly, with all this rage, I can't see clearly or think clearly.
I feel like a horse is more dangerous than an elephant. These elephants are quite tame.
Anyway, elephant in the room. Wonder Woman's back again. This would be her third match, which means
Second.
I believe she's now tied with Batman for the most appearances. I don't think anyone else has had 3 appearances.
Second.
Oh wait, no, shut up. Deadpool's also been in 3
Deadpool.
times.
So let's see. Did anyone want any character sincerely to appear 3 times? Like, did a character ever appear for the 3rd appearance and everyone was just like, "Yay"?
I mean, I don't really like returning combatants as it is. So
Batman returning a second time got me hyped. A 3rd time, I was like, "Yay!" Yeah. And I'm a Batman stan, for God's sakes. And even so, no, I didn't want Batman back 3 times, and I certainly as hell didn't want Deadpool back 3 times.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, Deadpool's quite cool, but again, like I said, I don't like returning combatants because they take the spot for what characters that could have been in there. Like, now I really wish Sailor Moon was fighting She-Ra.
Yep. And so the fact that she's back and the fact that it's Wonder Woman of all characters is definitely very frustrating because here's the thing. I researched Wonder Woman back in the day, and I researched Captain Marvel back in the day. The reason I bring them up is because they're very similar in the fact that their entire character is just girl but strong. So yeah.
Wonder Woman's had more development since then.
It's not that Wonder Woman had development. It's that Captain Marvel had anti-developments.
Thank you.
So
I'm not going to enjoy this.
Point is, Wonder Woman I don't hate. I hate Captain Marvel, but I don't hate Wonder Woman. But I don't like her either. She's the most bland character because she's literally just a less
Superman with tits.
A less interesting Superman. Superman has an interesting dynamic where it's like it's humanity versus his powers versus who he is versus who he's meant to be, blah 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 blah. But with Wonder Woman, it's literally just she's a god. Like that's it. That's her character.
That's not her character. God damn it!
I've read too many Wonder Woman comics to broach discussion on this.
She believed there was.
She says, "Justice is my turn on."
That was an old one made by some BDSM arsehole.
It doesn't take away from the fact that
she is about finding the good in humanity.
I didn't interrupt you, okay? So you're gonna let me complete.
Yeah, let him talk. Let him talk.
Fully.
I'll contain my fanboyism.
So anyway, Wonder Woman is a very the definition of medium. She is just like you can write a character to be a strong, independent female character who's also a good character, or you can do the Wonder Woman trope, which is just generic, good, powerful. Like everyone always talks about, Superman's so boring, he's just perfect. No, he's not. He has flaws, he has struggles, he's interesting. Wonder Woman is what people think Superman is. She has no struggles. She has no complexity. She is literally just boring woman with god powers. I have nothing interesting to discuss with her. I don't like her. I don't dislike her, but I don't like her. So I don't want her back. I don't want anyone back a third time, to be honest. No one. I don't want anyone to come back a third time. Not this early in Death Battle's lifespan. So I'm not happy that she's back. Period. Even if, the only argument you could make for having her back is if all of She-Ra's other options were a complete stop. And this was the only fair matchup. But obviously...
That's not the case.
That's not the case. And here's the thing. Now that I've discussed that, I'm not glad that Wonder Woman's back in general. I'm not glad that she's back a third time. So, yeah, that's that out of the way. Now let's talk about the actual matchup. There are lots of matchups I would have preferred for She-Ra. I would have preferred Sailor Moon. I would have preferred Katana. I would have preferred...
Wait, hold on. Did you just say Katana?
I think so. I think that was a matchup for her that I liked.
What, from Mortal Kombat?
Yeah.
Dude, Katana would not last a second against She-Ra.
Sure, but I don't care. It's more interesting. Plus, at least Katana would finally get in a death battle.
Thank you.
She will.
She'll get in when Melina gets into MK11.
Hey-o.
Well, she did get into MK11, actually.
When she's playable in MK11. Jesus Christ. Don't get me distracted with a rant about that game.
Thank you.
Sorry.
So, there's plenty of matchups. I can't think of them all off the top of my head, but there are plenty of matchups I would have enjoyed seeing She-Ra face. But anything except a returning DC boring-ass comic character, it's like, Jesus Christ. We haven't had enough this season as is. How many Marvel and DC characters have we had already? Just this season. Miles Morales, Static Shock, Black Canary, a War Machine,
Yep. I think
Cable
that's it.
and Booster Gold.
Oh, yep.
Holy God. Can we stop? Can we? This needs to stop, please.
Well, in all fairness,
Cable versus Booster Gold was at least interesting.
Yeah, but space it out, for Christ's sake. Like, oh. So, yeah. Anyway, the plenty of matchups I would have preferred. Now let's actually talk about the madness that is this matchup. Now,
Oh yes.
if we're just going off of the show, He-Man, like, let's just work off the assumption that they're going to scale She-Ra to He-Man, which is not unreasonable because they both draw their power from the same source.
Yep.
If we're going purely off the show, it's not an entirely unbalanced matchup because technically speaking, if we want to get technical, He-Man could move things like moons on his own in the cartoon, whereas Wonder Woman has never been able to do anything like that on her own.
She pulled a planet.
But Jaru, she held a third of the Earth.
No, she didn't.
Thank you.
And more importantly, even if she did, He-Man didn't just move the moon. He pushed it so hard that it disappeared from sight in seconds. Let that kind of register how far a moon-sized object has to travel to disappear from sight in seconds. It has to be moving significantly faster than light. So, yeah, He-Man's kind of busted in the cartoon. So, if we scale her to that, you could make a reasonable argument that, maybe it's not too unfair. I mean, it's still grossly unfair because Wonder Woman's trillions of times faster than light.
Yeah.
And He-Man ain't got anything on that speed. But they'll be able to sell it like, well, She-Ra had strength, but Wonder Woman's speed and super cutty sword will let her take the win. And if that's what happens, this battle is just terrible because it didn't bring anything new. It will just be her versus Thor again. And it's like, why do a match if it's just the same thing again? And that brings me to the one context, the one possibility that could potentially make this worth doing, which is if they use the He-Man comic books. Because...
Which, by the way, you should go read.
Yeah, agreed. And I'm not even necessarily talking about the crossover comics in which He-Man does shit like kill Superman. I'm just talking about the He-Man comics. And yes, He-Man has killed Superman in a crossover comic. That happened. It was pretty awesome, actually.
Damn straight.
But I digress. Point is, in the comics, He-Man and the rest of his verse are operating on an obscenely higher scale than they are in the cartoon. Like, I have a picture that I would like to. I'll go ahead and post in the disc. I'll send it to y'all. But maybe it'll be on screen for the video.
I'll send it to Sean.
It's basically a shot from the comic in which Skeletor grabs He-Man's sword, and he's stolen He-Man's sword, the power sword. And this is like crazy. He's like, he's never wielded such power. And he literally says, and I quote, with this, I could cause the very cosmos itself to be gone with but a thought.
Yeah, I actually am reading that. That is actually pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's just one comic book panel. Like, there's a whole bunch of craziness that happens in these comics. So, if we're talking about that, like, the versus community considers the comic book canon to be, like, multiverse level He-Man. Not even joking. Like, that's legitimately what they consider him to be. I'm not going to pretend necessarily that I have enough know-how to agree or disagree, but considering the influence that the versus community has on Death Battle these days, if they say He-Man's multiversal, so will Death Battle. So, if they're using the comics. And here's the thing. If He-Man's multiversal, so is She-Ra, and that's enough to give her the win over Wonder Woman. By a significant margin, in fact. Because Wonder Woman ain't anywhere near on that scale. Even Superman isn't even on that scale without significant sun dip power-ups. and Wonder Woman only like Wonder Woman barely manages to be on Superman's level when he's at base form. So to say that she's comparable to him when he's actually powered up to like cosmic levels is silly. So that's kind of the ironic twist here, is that either this is a huge stomp in Wonder Woman's favor, or it's a humongous stomp in She-Ra's favor.
I mean, I would like that if it turns out there is another series out there stronger than DC on its own that doesn't have to resort into having like thousands of different characters that are on universal level.
Yeah.
Because don't get me wrong, I get why a lot of people don't like DC for being overpowered, but I feel like, you know, there's probably other series out there with characters probably even more stupidly overpowered, and I'd like it if He-Man was one of those, because He-Man is kind of one of the most memeiest shows out there, and if people start to see that, oh my goodness, this is how powerful He-Man is, that might actually bring more fan base to him.
That would be beautiful. I'd love for people to be like, holy shit, He-Man's way beyond Superman. And, that would bring me infinite joy.
Well, okay, you want to talk about, like, you brought up the whole pushing moon feet earlier. She-Ra was able to outdo her brother in that. She was able...
Oh, damn.
Okay, I'll send this to Sean, but this is listed in her research blog. Her Pegasus and her were flying out in space, and I'm not even joking. She leapt off of her Pegasus Swiftwind, she did a front flip, and she kicked the moon.
Oh shit! Didn't He-Man have to do a really powerful push? Like he had to put a lot into it.
Yes, he did. But She-Ra just did a front flip and kicked the fucking thing with her boots.
Yo, I take it back. I need to go watch the original She-Ra.
No. It's not even worth it for that. Like the moon, when the moon traveled a good solid like miles away after she did that. Like I think she had to kick the moon back into its right orbit position around her planet, and the fact that she literally just kicked it. Like He-Man had to put all of his strength and energy into pushing the moon. She literally just kicked it, and it wasn't even it barely took any effort from her.
Damn, I think Donkey Kong's got some competition for like moon punching or moon hitting.
Right. Exactly.
I actually did a video on that Donkey Kong feed, and the death battle actually didn't actually calculate it correctly. It's actually way more impressive than what they showed.
I will leave a link to Richard's review of the last episode and Jaru's Donkey Kong punching feat in the description if you people are interested in seeing.
Yeah, it's a really good video. I enjoyed making it. But anyway, that's the only outcome in which I will accept this death battle as being worth making, not to mention worth being the mid-season finale, is if they go full-blown, insane, multiversal level He-Man and She-Ra. Like, if they do that, I'll accept it. I'll accept it as being, okay, you contributed something worthwhile to the death battle, pantheon. Because here's the thing: if you keep in mind, He-Man vs. Lion-O was the season 2 premiere.
Yeah.
And a lot of season 2, even late season 2, is arguably kind of outdated and not accurate compared to modern Death Battle. Not to mention, like, the first episode of the season. So, if this is their chance to properly analyze He-Man and the rest of his verse, then I'm all down for that. But only if they actually, like, make it interesting. Like if they were to, like, let me be clear. I'm not just saying, oh, She-Ra has to win or it's a bad episode. Not necessarily. If they make She-Ra unbelievable, but then also make Wonder Woman unbelievable, then I'll accept it. I won't be happy, but I'll accept it as at least doing something, different. But if they don't do She-Ra, like, insane levels, like, make her really crazy, and then instead they just regurgitate the same information they gave on Wonder Woman last time and give the exact same reasons for why she wins, I'm not going to be happy. I'm going to consider this kind of a very not happy. I won't be happy. Put it simple. It's like you brought back this God, mediocre character for a mediocre matchup. And God, you could have done so much more. It's like, how has Sailor Moon not gotten in? But Wonder Woman's gotten in 3 times. Batman's gotten in 3 times. Deadpool's gotten in 3 times. Damn
This
it.
world.
So yeah. So needless to say, I'm always annoyed with the repeat combatants when it's like, at least bring us something new. It's like waiting to get like expecting something new, like waiting for a new episode of a show. Like take your pick of an anime, and then the first half of the episode just being flashbacks to the previous episode. Like that's what it's like when Death Battle is a returning combatant, because it's like you're not getting something new. You're getting half of something new. You're not getting a new product. You're getting the same product. And yeah, so I don't like that when they do that. And okay. I think I've said about everything I have to say. Bit rambly on there, but
it was hard to contain my angry fanboyism for shitting on Captain Marvel and Wonder Woman, but I held it in. I held it
in Wonder Woman if you insist, but don't even try to defend Captain Marvel.
No, yeah.
I'm holding this tighter than I'm holding in a curry shit.
Oh my.
That's disgusting. Almost as disgusting as Captain Marvel.
So we're probably going to end this podcast here because for one, my dinner's here, and two, I'm tempted to just force choke Jaru.
You don't have the force.
My dick has the force.
No, it doesn't.
I wish it did.
Man, I actually haven't read the rest of that Skeletor panel. He's like, welcome to the moment marking the doom of Eternia and the universe in which it exists.
Oh, yeah.
We should...
The death of everything.
We probably should wrap up because we are having a takeaway and it might get cold.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
Richard, you said your piece? I think I heard a door went. I think Richard just... Wow, he took that very literally.
It's like, we're done. Goodbye.
Richard? Oh yeah, his mic muted.
Yeah, no, sorry.
I was like, okay, I know we're wrapping up, but we didn't even do our outros.
No. Okay, no. I said my piece. Loved Danny versus Jake. Thought it was pretty good. Maybe I'll change my mind. Maybe Leo versus Jason will still be my favorite 2D fight. I don't know. I plan on making a death battle list for this season when it's done. So I don't know. I'm mixed on 1D versus She-Ra. I agree with Jaru. I hope it's not a repeat for 1D, because if it is, then it'll just be not worth it. But I want She-Ra to win. I want her to win. I want Wonder Woman to inherit Batman's streak. You know, she loses one, she wins one, and she loses one. I will literally feel like Christmas was given to me early if She-Ra wins. So
Same.
I'm rooting for She-Ra, but and I'm hoping that they go full on cartoon comic multiversal with her and He-Man's universe. So yes, but yeah. Other than that, got nothing else to say. Other than may my reign last eternity.
Again, that was a long outro. Jaru, have you finished your say?
Yeah, I think I've said everything I'd say. It was a bit messy, and I admit, I could have been a little more concise, but I think everyone got the gist of my complaints. Yeah, so like if y'all enjoyed the video, comment if you got something to say, subscribe if you want to see more, and as always, have a fantastic day.
Okay then, and thank you all so much for watching our latest episode of Let's Discuss Death Battle. If you are interested to see Richard's review of the last episode, I will leave that below, as well as some of Jaru's videos, which I think are rather interesting. And what? They're interesting.
The saltiness, I can feel it. The hate. through you. Get out of here, Palpatine.
Okay, okay, as much as he was ranting a lot about my characters, I know he didn't mean anything personal by it towards me. But anyway, I'm going to be continuing my Undertale Let's Play, and if you all want to see a playlist to that, link in the description below. So, share this video around with, I don't know, I still don't have a fucking intro yet.
Come up with one.
I'll come on your face.